I never imagined my life would lead me here, sitting in a quiet forest surrounded by shadows that don't belong to trees, breathing air that tastes like smoke, metal, and regret. The strange thing is, no one I've met here ever wanted this. Not the boys beside me, not the faces on the other side, not the mothers waiting at home. Most people don't choose war. War chooses them when others fail to speak. Today, after the shooting stopped, Mark sat down next to me on a fallen tree. He didn't say anything at first. He just stared at the ground as if the answers were buried somewhere in the dirt. Finally, he whispered, "You ever notice that the loudest people calling for war are never the ones who have to fight it?" His voice cracked when he said it, and for a moment, neither of us breathed. I looked at him, really looked at him. The dirt on his face, the fear in his eyes, the weight on his shoulders. He's only 24. But war ages you in ways that don't show on birthdays. Mark picked up a handful of dry soil and let it fall through his fingers like sand in an hourglass. "This is what happens," he said, "when people stop talking and start shouting instead." Then he looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Not anger, not fear, just tired truth. "We could have talked," he said. "We could have tried. But someone, somewhere decided it was easier to send us instead." His words hit harder than any explosion. Because deep down we all know it's true. We all feel it. We're not here out of pride, or hatred, or glory. We're here because someone else failed to listen. I leaned back against the tree and closed my eyes for a moment. The forest was quiet, but not the peaceful kind of quiet. No. It was the kind of quiet that comes after crying for too long. The quiet that hides pain beneath leaves and branches. I could hear distant voices from the camp. Some laughing, some trying to pretend nothing is happening, some sitting alone with their thoughts. And I wondered if someone had just talked, really talked, not as enemies, but as people. Would any of us be here now? Mark nudged my shoulder gently. "You know what the crazy part is," he said. "Most people back home, they want peace, they want life, they want families, they want dreams." He shook his head. "But wars aren't started by most people. They're started by a few, and paid for by everyone else." I felt something tighten in my chest. Anger maybe, or grief, or both. I picked up my rifle, cold metal, heavy, impersonal. I held it the way you hold something you don't understand anymore. "This isn't strength," I said quietly. "This is what we use when words fail." Mark looked at me for a long moment before he replied. "Real strength," he said, "is sitting at a table with someone you can't stand and choosing not to become what hatred wants you to be." His words stayed with me. They still do. A gust of wind moved through the trees, rustling the leaves like a whispered reminder. Nature doesn't care about flags or borders. It doesn't care who wins. It only cares who survives. And in that moment, I realized something simple and powerful. People aren't born wanting war. People are born wanting connection, to live, to love, to grow, to build a future for themselves and for those they care about. War isn't the human nature. Talking is. Understanding is. Peace is. War is just what happens when we forget who we are. Mark stood up and brushed off his uniform. "If they want war so badly," he said softly, "let them come fight it themselves. Let them walk into the smoke. Let them see what it costs." He looked at me. Maybe then they'd finally choose peace. We walked back toward the camp, the fading light stretching long shadows behind us. The forest breathed around us, alive, forgiving, ancient. And I couldn't shake the feeling that the world wasn't meant to be like this. War is the mistake, peace is the default, and maybe, one day, we'll remember that before it's too late.